Hello, welcome to Pickle's Garage for a Camaro episode. So, what the issue is on this today that I'm going to kind of resolve is the steering is incredibly light. Now, if your steering is jerky, like, if you move a little bit and it seems to move a lot more than you think it should, then that's more likely going to be an actual alignment issue. And you can check the camber on your car. Just make sure that the toe is right. So if the wheel is inboard or it's just not straight up and down. For the most part, these Camaros, it's supposed to be straight up and down. And you could take it to a shop. It is pretty extensive because there's different like wedges and stuff that you have to put in to actually make it sit right. So that's probably going to be a harder backyard sort of correction. But if you know that your front wheels, everything is lined up straight, it's not tilted, to or fro too much, then you might have other issues with the linkage. But again, those are issues if you feel like the steering is jerky. What I'm addressing today is if the steering feels incredibly light. Now, because it's so light, it may feel like you're jerking one way or the other, but that's just because the wheel itself feels really loose. And so the other thing too is if you're going kind of fast and you're hitting brakes or you're hitting rocks or something like that, little interference with that will make you start to turn. And so that's again just because of how light the steering is, that you have less control. It's not a firm feel. So there are a number of different things that it could be. Like I said, if you have more of a jerky steering, but if you have light steering, then this is an adjustment that you can make. So what I have here today is a 1979 Z28 Camaro. A lot of the GM products are going to have something very similar to this. So even if you don't have this specific vehicle, then very likely you have this sort of steering box set up on an older vehicle, older GM. And so what it is you can just follow your steering column down and you'll get to the steering box. And so it's going to have a nut on the top, and it's going to have an Allen wrench hole right here. So all we're doing is we're going to be loosening the retaining nut, and this is a 5/8. If you have some dirt, debris on it, or you only have metric wrenches, then you could probably get away with a 16. We'll do about the same job. And all we're doing is we're loosening this up to the point where you can turn this more freely. And so if your steering is really light, then you are going to be tightening it. Now, a little bit goes a very long way. So even if you have extremely light steering, I still wouldn't do too much. Likely, if you have extremely light steering, a whole half turn is going to correct the issue, but you should really only go about an eighth or even less. And so, and again, you can go quarter or whatever. It's going to be your feel, but I wouldn't do anything too drastic without testing it first. Obviously, if you have the inverse problem and your steering is actually too stiff, then you could test this out as well by going the opposite direction. So clockwise for tightening the steering, counterclockwise for loosening the steering. And so very self-explanatory. I don't have a tripod, so I'm not really going to be able to show you exactly this portion of me loosening it, but essentially I'm just going to be loosening the bolt, and then I'll jump ahead here and I'll show you the tightening process. Okay, so that top nut is now loose, and so I've actually already done this adjustment just previously, so this is actually an additional adjustment. So I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of tightening for this. I just want a little bit more feel. It was feeling really good, but it just wasn't quite there yet. And so Allen wrench is going to be the, let's see if I can focus on it, otherwise I'll just tell you, 3/16. Okay, and so you might need to play around with the specific Allen wrenches that you have, but 3/16 is going to be the one that I need here. And so it's going to be really loose, but you want to make sure that the retaining nut doesn't also turn with it. But I'm just going to tighten it ever so slightly. I'll probably do that, and then I need both hands for this, but I'm just going to tighten that retaining bolt again, and that is going to be my full adjustment. So again, something to play around with, test, little adjustments at a time. Make sure that you have, plenty of open space wherever you're testing it. It's not going to be overly drastic. It's just maybe your steering is going to be so tight that you're not able to turn much, or it's going to be so light. But if you already had light steering, hopefully this is going to continue to improve that and not make it worse. So again, clockwise for tightening, counterclockwise for loosening it up. But hopefully this adjustment helps. It's a good first start. If you have some sort of like light steering or even stiff steering, to do the opposite. And then if this doesn't work, then it's probably going to be something a little bit more related to underneath with the bushings and whatnot. So thank you for watching.